Hello, beautiful souls, and I am Lola Lovely, and welcome to The Love Frequency, a space for rising, returning, and remembering the fullness of who you are. Please bear with me because today's episode is about the saboteur, but it's also about me trying something new with using a teleprompter and also using notes. So today's episode is entitled Meeting the Saboteur and Healing the Habit of Holding Back. Now, this is a love note for the version of you that's been holding back because you're afraid or something inside of you has been whispering to you, don't go too far. Maybe that whisper came with fear, or it may sound like protection, or it may be you've mistaken it for your truth or for something that validates who you are. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the saboteur. You may not know the saboteur. You may not have heard about the saboteur archetype, or you may know about the saboteur archetype, which is good because everybody has one. And for me, as a certified archetypal consultant or coach in training, I'm very familiar with the archetypes, and I'm learning to work with the archetypes. And it's been an amazing work for me for the last 6 or 7 months that I've been working on this certification. It's been a long time coming for me to complete the process, but I have loved what I've learned so far. So learning to work with archetypes is understanding the universal patterns of the behavior that lives inside of all of us. It's very, very interesting. These archetypes help us to understand the inner forces that shape our decisions, reactions, and the very life that we live and the way we grow. They're not just symbols, they're mirrors that show us our inner selves. They show us where we hide, where we thrive, and how we actually step into our power and how we actually move in our truth and work with our truth. And they also show us how we can be resilient in our courage and how we can stand in our courage. And you may ask why this work matters, why archetypal work matters, why archetype work matters. Because to many of us, we're walking around with a story that isn't really ours. We are telling ourselves a story that never was ours. And it wasn't ours to begin with. And archetypical work or archetype work gives you the language. And it gives the language to the invisible forces that are within us. It gives language to the things that shape our lives. Our fear, our courage, our sabotage, our resilience. And when we can name those patterns through archetypical work, we stop being controlled by them. So the reason why I have chosen to become an archetype coach is so that I can stop the patterns that I have been following and the patterns that I've been reliving over and over again, and the programming, because it's really programming. And for me, it's about reclaiming my choice and my power and my purpose. And the whole point of doing this kind of work, working with your archetypes, is so that let me make sure I'm recording. So that you can reclaim your choice, your power, and your purpose. And this work literally invites us to do it. And it invites us out of survival mode and into soulful living. It says, hey, it is time for you to take possession and control of how you are showing up in the world and to intentionalize that. It's not about fixing yourself, but it's about seeing yourself clearly. It really is. It's not about saying, oh, I want to not be hoish, so how can I fix that? Great. Well, it's about not being hoish, about seeing yourself clearly in that role and why it is you're in that role, because everybody has a prostitute within them. And we're not talking about this, the traditional prostitute sell the ass prostitute, but we're talking about that everybody will give of themselves 40 hours a week to a job that they hate. That's a prostitute. That's the prostitute archetype. So it's not about fixing yourself. It's about seeing yourself clearly and choosing to love what you see. That's what archetype work is about. We have 4 survival archetypes. This is really important. The prostitute, the victim, the inner child. And today we're talking about the saboteur. P.S. The saboteur is not your enemy. It's not here to sabotage you or to destroy you. All of our archetypes are neutral. And all these patterns live inside of all of us. Everybody has this pattern of disruption. The saboteur is the pattern of disruption. It is poking and pausing, and sometimes flat out, it will derail the very thing that you prayed for. It will derail the progress that the process that you're saying, hey, God, I really want XYZ. And the saboteur will make you not do the thing, will not turn on the paper, will not apply for the job, will not speak to that person, will not go there. The saboteur will completely derail it. It sabotages not because it hates us. And I just want to make sure that we understand this going forward. The saboteur does not hate you. It does not sabotage you because it hates you. It sabotages because it's mirroring something back to you that you need to learn about yourself. It's mirroring your fear of taking full responsibility of your life, of your power, of your happiness, of your joy, and of what you are currently creating. I mean, it's really your power. It is your power that we're talking about. The saboteur is deeply tied to our survival and to our survival instincts. It speaks to us in the language of fear, and it also talks in the language of being without, okay? And all of us, I know for me personally, I have a fear of being without food, without a place or a home. I have a fear of being alone, without community, and I have a fear of like starving to death. I used to have the visualization that if I didn't do this one thing, I would end up on a box in the street. My therapist, thank you very much, shout out to 10. My therapist for helping me to overcome that fear that one small thing would make me be on the street. Like what? But that's my saboteur. So it speaks to us in the language of fear and this fear of being without. And it haunts us just like a monster under the bed. And it really instills this quiet dread of being unseen, being not heard, being not loved. And for me, the biggest one is being alone, or being too much, or being seen as too much, or being unworthy of success, love, or happiness. And so we hesitate and we resist the very doors that we have begged the universe to open, because the saboteur makes us do that, helps us to do that. But we're here trying to heal ourselves, trying to become the enlightened saboteur, right? Now you can silence the saboteur. And I just want to make sure that you understand that there is a way to start to take that saboteur and make it work with you. You can silence the saboteur. But you can't use rage, because that never works, to be mad at yourself. To be mad at the saboteur, because the saboteur is part of you. It is part of who you are. It is that language, that quiet language of your inner landscape speaking to you. So you cannot rage against the saboteur. You cannot shame it into being better, okay? You cannot do it with rage. You cannot silence the saboteur with rage or with shame. You can only do it with courage and intuition. Hallelujah. The funniest thing is all the videos that I needed to record in this segment of recording were all about intuition, which is so interesting. And then to cap it off with the saboteur is just 100% spirit speaking through me and to me. And I listened to the intuition about doing a podcast. Please make sure to see the podcast, Rewrite Your Love Resume. Please make sure to see that. That was a whole intuition, me listening to the intuition. And what we can do in order to overcome the saboteur or silence the saboteur is that we start listening to our intuition. You start listening to the little nudges. You don't listen to the fear anymore. But you listen to that small nudge that tells you to go here or do this or have that, or go here or talk to that person or go to that event, or take up a class, or try to use teleprompter, because maybe there's something in the using of the teleprompter that it'll just get easier. It's the subtle gut impulses that you use to say yes, to try something new. Apply anyway. Turn here, say yes. And when you respond to the nudges, you grow stronger. Your intuition grows stronger. Your inner courage grows stronger. And slowly, that quiet courage expands your creative environment. It makes you more creative and it expands your world ultimately. If you start to really listen to that quiet nudge, it sends you in the right direction. The core issue of the saboteur is change. The saboteur does not like change. I repeat, the saboteur does not like change. It isn't afraid of your dreams. It's afraid of what they require. I'll say that again. The saboteur isn't afraid of your dreams. It's afraid of what they require. Because to say yes to your spiritual life, to your next level, requires you to work for your deepest desires. And that is a big deal. It's to say yes to transformation, to say yes to leveling up. It requires work. It requires discipline. And most people don't want to do that. They want to have it all, but they don't want to do it all. Okay? They want to have it all, but they don't want to be it all. You know? You pace yourself on how much change you can tolerate. We all do. But listen, we cannot be afraid of failing. We're afraid of how powerful we really are. That's what we're afraid of. You're afraid of how powerful you really are. I'm afraid of how powerful I really am. Let me put this back down because that might not be the best sound. And how quickly we can shift the world around us if we truly just showed up for ourselves. If you truly just showed up for yourself and you believed how powerful you are and you stood in that and showed up for yourself, everything would change. So we're afraid to show up for ourselves, so we sabotage. We say we're not ready. We keep our life small. We call our power too much. You know, oh, she's too loud. She too much. She requires too much. She wants too much. I am the table, so I do require a lot. How about that? I'm going to say it again. I am the table, so I do require a lot. So how about that? But the saboteur can try to tell me that that's not the truth. And I just want you all to know you were not born to be ordinary. You were not born to just be ordinary, be regular, be a muggle. No, you were born to shine, to create a difference, to rise and radiate, to rise and radiate this sense of who you are, this beautiful you. And when you settle for less than that, something sacred inside you dims. It gets small. It shrinks. Now, the saboteur does get a bad rap because its name really sounds like something horrible. It doesn't sound like something yummy. It sounds like betrayal. Sabotage, saboteur, right? And yes, it can feel like you're betraying yourself. But the real role is awareness. The saboteur shows you the thoughts that quietly block your success. That's what the saboteur does. You know, if you keep saying, "Oh, I really would like to become a data analysis person," but then you don't want to do the class, the saboteur is showing you you pay for the class and then you don't do the class. You don't do the weekly assignments. You don't do the weekly class. It's self-motivated, self-taught, but you don't. I'm talking about myself because I have this for a project management class. That I was, awareness, spirit said, take a project management class. And then I was like, okay, I started and I was in it and I still love the project management idea. But then like midway from the class, I got very bored. Hello, saboteur showed up, and it showed up to block my success in this class. It showed up to show me how I block myself because the saboteur isn't a person, place, or thing. It's a mirror to show me what I am doing to me. It's a mirror to show me how I'm showing up for myself, how I'm committing to my purpose and my peace. How am I committing to that? And it shows you the thoughts that quietly block your success. It reveals how low self-worth and low self-esteem can lead to discrediting your very own optimism, your very own power, your very own better life. It's a flashing light shining on the shadowy parts of where you stop yourself right before the magic happens. And I definitely am the person who likes to stop myself right before the magic. I can feel it. I can feel that it's getting juicy and the manifestations. And anytime I put something in, it comes out without resistance. I can feel that. And then there's this little flashing light. Danger, danger. Road signs. And then the shadowy part shows up. And it throws little lemony snickets, in case of unfortunate events, right into where the magic is about to begin. And I have decided, this is my summer surrender, that I'm going to surrender to this moment of spirit, of the universe, of Holy Spirit, of God, moving me in a direction. And I'm going to surrender to that, and I'm going to say yes to it, and I'm going to move forward. And when it says turn left, I'm going to turn left. When it says to go to the shop right, I'm going to go to shop right. When it says wake up and clean the bathroom, I'm going to do that, because the magic is about to begin. I'm right there at the edge of that magic, and I need to be there present when it starts, because I want to hear the music start, because I can get on the dance floor. Don't you want to hear the music start so you can get on the dance floor? Favorite song? That's my favorite song. Time for you to be on the dance floor. You want to be there when the music begins, when the magic begins. So here's the invitation. Don't exile your inner saboteur. We're not doing that. We're not gonna kick the saboteur out. We're not gonna be like, hey, you gotta go. We're gonna make it our ally. And we're gonna let it teach you where you shrink, where you hide, and where you choose to silence your truth. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna let it teach us. Where do you hide? Where do you shrink at? Where do you choose silence over speaking your truth? And the saboteur is showing you these things so that you can say, oh, I shrink in my relationships. This is me personally. I shrink in my relationships. I allow my mate, my male counterpart, to be the yin and the yang, but to be the head of our relationship. So I shrink in my own personal relationships. I hide in my power as a healer, a disruptor, and a creator. And I choose silence in the space where I should speak my truth when it comes to relationships. And me seeing these things is the saboteur teaching me how I can transmute, change, move, realign, reimagine these things for myself. And then how I can choose differently. I can choose love. I can choose courage. I can choose to hear my voice, the one that whispers possibility and love and joy and peace and not fear. I can choose to listen to that. You are not the voice of doubts. You are the soul that rises anyway. We all are. So here's a few loving truths to remember about the saboteur. I'm going to read from the list, so just bear with me. The saboteur often shows up during times of change and transition. If you have a life-changing situation, the saboteur will show up. If you're transitioning from one place to another, the saboteur will show up. That happened to me at the end of my marriage. The saboteur showed up in the form of sickness, and it was harder for me to remove myself from the home I shared with my husband. It took a long time, and I understood that the saboteur and the inner child were showing up in that transition. But I'm going to give you three ways that the saboteur can show up so that you're very clear when you're acting in this way that this is the saboteur showing up. And it can show up as the perfectionist. This is the version of the saboteur says that it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. But perfectionism is a lie. It's a trap that keeps your genius locked in a draft folder. Done is divine, messy is sacred. Just want you to be aware of that. Now it can show up as the procrastinator. I'll start it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Maybe next week, maybe tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes. Next week never comes because the saboteur never feels ready. Ready is not a feeling. It's a decision. Ready is not a feeling. It's a decision. It's a decision for you to decide. It's a time for you to say, I am going to get up. I have decided that I am going to jump on my rebounder every morning for the minimum 5 minutes. Every morning. It's a decision. I decided to be happy instead of sad. I decided that when the feeling or thoughts of my husband show up, that I can be happy about those feelings, happy about those thoughts. And if the story in my head turns sad, I can make a decision to stop the story. Okay? So it can show up in that way. The perfectionist, okay? It can show up as the perfectionist, the procrastinator, and finally, the people pleaser. I never would have, if you had met me in my 20s, let me take a sip of my lemonade. I'm sorry. If you had met me in my 20s, my late 20s, I was the last thing from a people pleaser. I didn't give a fuck what you needed or where you was going. I had my shit to do, and I was doing it. And I was doing it well. I was doing it in 4-inch, 6-inch heels. I was model walking. I was vibe. I was on the whole stroll. I hate to say it, but I was strolling. I had my own thing. I had my own car. I had my own money. I had my own house. I didn't need nothing from nobody. I was the furthest thing from a people pleaser. Move forward, fast forward, transaction. I don't know why transaction came about, but moving forward, fast forwarding to my 30s, my late 30s, something shifted in me. Yeah, something shifted in me. Maybe it was, my late 30s, early 40s. Something shifted in me. And I had a near-death experience, and maybe that's what turned on this people pleaser. This person that wanted to make sure that everybody was okay over me, and that everything was okay over my needs, and that everybody was taken care of over what I needed. Okay? And this one keeps you buried, and it keeps your truth buried under yes. And it's especially yeses that should mean no. Okay? We are so famous as people pleasers to say yes, but we're really thinking no. And the saboteur shows up as you being a people pleaser. She wants love, but love that costs your voice is not real love. Okay? So you have to know that when you show up as the people pleaser, the procrastinator, and the perfectionist, your saboteur has been activated and it is speaking directly to you so that you know that this is, I'm trying to sabotage myself because I am trying to please everyone else but me. Stop. Hammer time. Oh, right? Mom, music hits me. So I would say, stop. It's time for you to stop people pleasing, right? It is time for you to make sure that you are aware of how the saboteur shows up for you. For some of us, we never seem to people pleaser, but we're a complete perfectionist. For some of us, never procrastinate, but we're people pleasers, but we get everything done. Some of us are people pleasers and don't want, and there's nothing perfectionist about us. We're a hot mess. Everything is disorganized. We could care less about it showing up in a good package, but we want to make sure everybody's happy. But you have to know that all of that is, in a bag of chips, is the saboteur. And the saboteur is powered by fear, especially fear of losing your basic needs or support. So the most powerful of the basic needs that we have. And those 4 basic needs are food, shelter, and clothing. Those things that the saboteur will definitely utilize to undo you, to take you off your path of moving into the flow, of listening to the intuition, of standing in your courage, of taking these courage steps, these small baby steps towards your creative love, to what you want to actually create in your life. So you can transform the saboteur into a guide through courage and intuition. It thrives in silence, but loses power when you name it and take action. Ooh, that is so strong. So the saboteur thrives in your silence, my love. So when you are being quiet and you're not saying your truth, if you're just agreeing, you're being a people pleaser, or you're procrastinating, but you're being silent, you need help, you're depressed, you're sad, you can't get out, you're not saying a word, the saboteur is there in your silence, gaining its power. It thrives in silence, but it loses power when you actually name it and you take action. When you say to your friends, I am so depressed, I cannot think straight, I cannot get out of bed, the saboteur loses its power because you took action and you spoke up. And it's so important, it's so imperative to speak up, to speak your truth, to say your truth, and to step up for yourself. Okay, here's another one. Small intuitive choices create momentum that weakens sabotage patterns. So, small intuitive choices create momentum. This week, as you are in your week, listen to that voice that is nudging you to do something, to call someone, to look into something, to study something. Even if you just look into what, you might be like, oh my God, I really want to learn to sew. Well, look into it. See what kind of programs out there. See what's on YouTube. See if you can find a sewing machine. Follow that little intuitive choice. Because this weakens the pattern that the sabotage has on you. The pattern of you're not doing enough, you're not good enough. The sabotage, the pattern of fear, of you being afraid to succeed. By you just listening to those intuitive choices, the small intuitive little nudges, you weaken the saboteur. The sabotage is a response to rapid change we don't think that we can handle. There is times when we sabotage ourselves because we are going through some immediate change. We lose our home, we lose our car, we lose our loved one. Someone dies without us really understanding, and so we become frozen. You know, you lose a mate and you become frozen because you do not know which way to go, how to take care of yourself, what's the first thing you do. Sabotage is a response to rapid change we don't think that we can handle. And I want to make sure that you understand that you can handle those things. But remember, if you give voice to the silence of it, it loses its power as well. So the last one that we talked about, which was not the small intuitive, it thrives in silence but loses power when you name it and take action, can go hand in hand with responding to rapid change we don't think that we can handle. So the sabotage shows up when that happens, when we come into a space where crazy shit is happening. We fear our own creative power more than failure. Now that is really a big thing. We fear our own creative power more than failure. And I agree with that. I will sabotage seeing something through because I don't care if it fails. I don't know if I want it to come through because I'm afraid of the outcome. Even my skincare line, I'm afraid that there's a part of me which I'm not gonna say that this doesn't exist anymore. I think that it's transitioning and it's working into a different space. There's a part of me that has a fear that my line could take off and then I wouldn't know how to actually run it because I'm not business minded, and I feel like it could get so big that I wouldn't know what to do with it. And how would I keep my hands in it? How would I keep myself in it? And of course, there's the very easy thing is that I would hire someone to help me that actually knows what they're doing, that actually knows how to grow this business more from the space. If I could get it to 10,000 subscribers or 10,000 people buying my soap, or my skincare or my Illuminate, then I can get somebody to help me. But my saboteur will put this idea that the fear of this creative power, I need to let it fail instead of allowing it to grow. So the saboteur is not a villain, it's a teacher. And it's asking you to trust yourself. It's asking you to say, oh, well, I'm going to show how you sabotage. Can you look beyond the sabotage and say, oh, I'm not trusting myself in this space with myself, with what I'm creating, with who I am. So that's my couple of little things for you to understand about the saboteur. Let this be your moment to move forward. Even if it's softly or gently, or it could be loud and obnoxious, let this be your moment to move forward from the saboteur. Even if it's just one step at a time. And just so you know, if you've ever stood in your own way, if you've ever sabotaged yourself, I see you, I love you, and I am you. This is a love note to the ones who've been too afraid to move too fast and too far, or to be too bold. I hope you remember that the fear is not yours. It's been borrowed and you've allowed it to return over and over again. You are safe to create, you are safe to rise, and you're safe to stop holding back. So now is the time for you to, as they say, carpe diem, seize the day. This is your love note for you to stop holding back and to be the biggest, brightest you that you can be. Slow and steady wins the race. Follow those small, intuitive nudges and continue to create without fear. You are whole, perfect, and complete, and a radiant point of light. Thank you so much for showing up today. Remember, I'm your girl, Lola Lovely, and always stay in the love frequency. Bye.